Hello and good morning. Look at me. I'm not even wearing my shirt. Wowie zowie, owls cowie. Welcome into the program today, everybody. We are wearing different clothes to indicate a new America. We are having a good time this morning, already starting the show, welcoming in everybody into the space. It's so nice to be here with you. Rev Deuce got great sleep last night, can you tell? And Rev Deuce is fired up to help you save your neighbor's mind. To help you save your neighbor's mind in a time when your neighbor's mind is under attack at all times. Do we understand? Do we understand that every single moment of every single day there are messages being put into the ether that are not about human decency, that are not about caring about one another as Americans? The messages we are receiving at all times are messages of division. I have the wrong date on the stream. Okay, perfect. Oopsie poopsie, that's what they doopsie. What are we gonna do? We're gonna keep going. We're waiting to see if people come onto the Substack. Anyway, how are you all? Welcome. Come on in. If you're here, say hello. Say hey, yes, and say, do you got a dime, brother? Can you spare a dime? Does everyone remember that song, Brother, Can You Spare a Dime? Of course you don't. You weren't alive. Brother, Can You Spare a Dime was a song, I think it was by someone named Al Smith. What do we think? Who's with me? Good morning, Madison. Hello, you are with me. You know, Madison, yesterday, you and David, you know, you were watching the program as the loyal adherents to the tub that you are, and I hope you didn't feel like I was ignoring you. And so here you are, and I love you, and we are here, and we're ready to kick off the show today. We are waiting kind of to see if Substack is even working. But we are ready to kick off the show and save the minds of our neighbors, whether it's yesterday or today, based on the date that I put. So we now see the chat on Substack. That's what's most important. I want to see the chats on all the places so that I can communicate with the people. And so Jason is here, and he's hitting the hearts like the freak monkey that the Mark Andreessen's techno-fascists have turned us all into. So thank you for being a freak monkey with me today, Jason. Now, here's the deal, everybody. Your neighbors are losing their minds, okay? And we got to do something about it, all right? Your neighbors are losing their minds, and it's been a progression. You know, maybe your neighbor was one of the Koch brothers' fathers. So maybe your neighbor passed away in the 1980s, but your neighbor had lost his minds, and his neighbor, you know, if your neighbor was one of the Koch brothers' parents, he was putting full-page ads in the 1950s about, will you be able to celebrate Christmas this year? Okay, so he's the original crank. You know what I mean? But now your neighbors are being turned against all of us. Our neighbors are, yes, and by messages that are absolutely wild, right? You have people who should know better in positions of power, people like Mike Johnson. Mike Johnson, who says irresponsible things based on irresponsible reports reported by irresponsible inspectors general. Okay, this is following up on something that happened yesterday when we were on TikTok. We had a new follower, a lady named, I think, Molly. And Molly told us, she just goes, I mean, she was fun. I like her energy. And she's got some fun videos on TikTok. It's just her in her kitchen. But she just goes, my neighbor told me that 87,000 kids were saved by Trump right after his inauguration. And I said, what the hell are you talking about? And so she told me that her neighbor just said it out of the blue, and then told her that she voted for Trump, and she was grateful because he had saved 87,000 kids, right? So then yesterday, Rev Deuce, after the programming, he just made a video, you know, and he found crazy stuff like this. So this is Speaker Mike Johnson. So we are just pointing out the reality that there is no morality in the faux morality Christian right. And now that is not attack on our MAGA loved ones and neighbors who may be Christians and who may go to these churches. We just we have to point out to you that the people in positions of power have no morality, and they are taking advantage of your good-natured morality. You know what I mean? Your need for control and comprehension and community. They're taking advantage of it. We want you to be a part of this community. Yes, and. So look at this. This is Mike Johnson. Fear-based dickhead, liar, Mike Johnson, lies about elections, gets up at podiums and lies about, what he knows or doesn't know. He's asked about Donald Trump's corruption bonanza in the Middle East, and Mike Johnson, or if the, and the emoluments clause and all that stuff with Qatar, and he goes, well, I don't know, I'm not an expert on that. Well, guess what? You're the Speaker of the House. Suck it up. Have an opinion. Be a real human being instead of just a moral-less apparatchik of Christian fascism. You know what I mean? Just do something good for once in your life. So here on the screen we see Speaker Johnson slams Biden administration for stunning IG report on 300,000 missing migrant kids, modern-day slavery operation. What an implication. Meanwhile, couple this with the reality that Eric Trump and Mike Flynn were traveling the country for years on something called the Reawaken America Tour, where they would have pastors get up on stage as they barnstormed across the country and tell the audience that the Democrats were evil, that they were pedophiles, that they were Satan worshipers who were sucking the blood of children. All as a part of a QAnon psychological operation. QAnon believes in saving the children from a democratic and deep state plan to traffic children. Okay? Do we understand that that's the reality that for so many millions of Americans, okay? And so you have Mike Johnson standing up and saying that it's a modern-day slavery operation. Well, guess what? It wasn't anything like that at all. It's not that at all. There are no missing children, okay? And so your old pal, Rev Deuce, he made a video for you. And so what you need to do for your old pal, Rev Deuce, since he made the video for you, is you need to go and you need to blast it out into the ecosphere. The ecosphere being a thing that I guess is probably a term someone's used. But so here you go. Look at this. That's nice. That's nice. That's nice production. Look at this. Very clear over here. It's not as clear on the other websites. What am I doing with that? Anyway, check this video out.
Is your MAGA neighbor telling you stuff like 80,000 lost kids were saved by Donald Trump right after his inauguration? Well, it's not true. Here's where they got it.
This will focus on those missing children, hundreds of thousands of them that we know. And that number has started to already come down, Emily, from 300,000. So they've found about 75 to 80,000 of those kids already.
Harris Faulkner and others are manipulating numbers from an August 2024 DHS Inspector General report on unaccompanied migrant children. An Inspector General who was appointed by Donald Trump precisely to create reports like this that could be used for propaganda. The report narrowly focuses on the 448,000 unaccompanied migrant children who had interactions with ICE between October 2018 to September 2023. There is no proof those children have fallen victim to human trafficking, as Faulkner, the Inspector General, and various social media posts imply. So what gives? Of those 448,000 kids, 32,000 didn't appear for scheduled court hearings. This could be for a number of reasons, and there is no evidence it is because they are lost. 291,000 of those children didn't even receive a court date, and so there is no evidence to suggest that they are lost either. They just didn't get reached out to by ICE. Expert Jonathan Bayer pointed out that the report only discusses ICE's data on the children. That one set of records, he said, is a far cry from the federal government's total contact with these children across various agencies. And the American Immigration Council said the Inspector General's report reflects paperwork gaps, not lost children. So there aren't really lost children at all, and people with low moral character who want to manipulate us into thinking Donald Trump is a great guy,
grab him by the
just made it up. It's one more example of how our fellow Americans are falling victim to a system of information designed to manipulate us all. Is your MAGA neighbor telling you stuff?
Wow, look at that guy. He's so sexy. I bet people love him. So here's the deal. You're going to be a fact warrior. You are going to go and you are going to put this where it needs to be, all over the internet, because guess what? Your MAGA friends and loved ones are... Excuse me, everyone. Excuse me, a baking powder. Where's the chat? Yakety yak, where's the chat? You know what I'm saying? What the heck? Why can't I get into the chat? Hey, everybody, just bear with me here. I'm trying to. Oh, my God. Ridiculous. Okay, so you're going to go and you're going to help your old pal Rev Deuce by doing that. Now, let me get this back to life, back to reality. You know what I mean? Oh, boy, howdy. What is this we can put on the screen? Okay, let's put this on the screen. So, everybody, welcome into the program today. I'm so grateful to have you here. We are going to go through the news with Deuce. Your old pal Rev Deuce is going to go through the news with you. How exciting. What a joy. And today's reality is that we want to push back on what our friends and loved ones and neighbors are seeing. And if you are watching on Substack, please come watch on YouTube, on Twitch, twitch.tv/Public Enlightenment. But so we found this. Don't you love it when I say we? We found this. What is this? Heard bragging he saw beauty contestants naked. Yes, that's what I was looking for yesterday. Now, we saw this on TikTok, and we wanted to show it to you because we still, this is the theme for today is your neighbors are having their brains be rotted by just like literally the most moralless people on the planet. And so I just wanted to go to this, like, there's nothing. Joe Biden isn't the president anymore, okay? And neither is Ronald Reagan, and neither is Bill Clinton, and neither is. So when I talk about Ronald Reagan on this program, it's because we're talking about the origins of where we are now, right? We're explaining the reality of manipulation and right-wing billionaire, manipulation of our society, and Ronald Reagan being part of that over the course of decades. When these people talk about Joe Biden, it is to create like a fear and to create a propaganda campaign that distracts from what they are doing currently. I'm not trying to distract from what I'm doing currently by talking about the history and the understanding of our information ecosystem as it pertains to Richard Nixon and Ronald Reagan and to the right-wing think tanks. Donald Trump is the president. He is engaged in next level global corruption that is real and true. And if we talk to our MAGA friends and loved ones, they are on an information stream that tells them that it is not real, and that if it is real, it is fine, and all of that stuff. And so our MAGA neighbors and loved ones and friends are also just in love with, one of the worst people in American history, Donald Trump, okay? And even if you say that he's one of the worst people in American history, they lose their minds and they think like, you are such a jerk. You're so biased. It's like, no, this is just a bad dude. And so just, this is not necessarily the news. And I wonder if Caitlin Collins had a follow-up on this. But of course it is the news because it is the leader of the free world, quote unquote, who is, this is how he behaves. And so we are just underscoring the reality of just the absolute lack of morality in the pursuit of that fascism, and in the pursuit of self-enrichment, and in the pursuit of, fulfilling the dreams of the Christian nationalist billionaires who have been warping our society since the 1970s. Yes, and thank you. So just watch this awful answer from this absolutely moralless man. And of course, if you are a MAGA friend or loved one who is watching, and especially if you are Christian and you believe things about yourself, like that you are loving, that Jesus was loving, that Jesus decided that he would love everyone no matter what, think about your Lord on earth here, Donald Trump, and the way he responds to hearing that someone is basically about to die of cancer who was his predecessor in the White House.
Being diagnosed with cancer, are you going to call your predecessor?
I think it's very sad, actually. I'm surprised that it wasn't, the public wasn't notified a long time ago, because to get to stage 9, that's a long time.
First of all, stage 9 cancer doesn't exist. Stage 9 cancer is like you are in Hades.
I just had my physical. You saw that. You saw the results of that particular test. I think that
he was asked, did you hear that Joe Biden is dying of cancer? Are you going to call him? And now look at this answer. Oh, my God. Don't look at whatever that is.
This is standard to pretty much anybody getting a physical, good physical. We had the doctors at the White House and over at Walter Reed, which is a fantastic hospital. I did a very complete physical, including cognitive tests. I'm proud to announce I aced it. Got them all. I got them all right. You proud of me? Yes. Your husband would be proud of me for getting them all right. It's a little risk if I didn't get them all.
Again, the question was, did you hear that your predecessor has stage 5 cancer and is dying? Are you going to call him?
All right, these people would be after me. It would be not a good situation. But I think, frankly, anybody running for president should take a cognitive test. They say it's unconstitutional, but I would say in that particular case, having a cognitive test wouldn't be so bad. But
there's no such thing as bad optics for this guy because our mainstream media is complicit with the right-wing information ecosystem in, boosting Donald Trump basically and, denigrating Joe Biden whenever they can. Again, I'm not a big fan of Joe Biden per se, but I think when it comes to fascism versus flawed but functioning somewhat democracy, I'm appreciative of a Biden administration versus a Trump administration. And so, there's no such thing as bad optics for this guy because everyone is on board with his program when it comes to our corporate system. But the thing is like when Biden dies, will there be bad optics? Like when Biden passes away and Trump basically rhetorically defecates on his coffin as it lays in state, what will the optics be then? Because Trump is incapable of being gracious. You know what I mean? He in about 2 minutes in this statement from now, he says and it's very sad. You know what I mean? He's incapable of being gracious. And, there's this weird mind trick, I guess, that happens with our friends, our MAGA loved ones and neighbors who, as long as he says the bare minimum, and sometimes he doesn't even do that, but as long as he says it's very sad in the midst of a 3-minute diatribe about how, Biden is a piece of shit and the people who supported him were idiot, loser pieces of shit who are Marxist, communists, whatever. You know what I mean? It's just wild, everybody.
When you take tests, medical as a male.
When you take tests medical as a male,
test is very standard. I don't know if it's given to everybody, but it's given just about. And it takes a long time to get to that situation. Now, I think to get to a stage 9.
Stage 9 is not a form of cancer that exists. Someone should follow up with him and say what about your decline, sir? You know what I mean? But they're not going to do that, of course, because they're cowed.
I think that if you take a look, it's the same doctor that said that Joe was cognitively fine. There was nothing wrong with him. Well, he said, if it's the same doctor, he said there was nothing wrong there, and that's being proven to be a sad situation. And the auto pen is becoming a very big deal. The auto pen is becoming a big deal because it seems like that maybe was the president who ever operated the auto pen. But when they say that was not good, they also, you have to look and you have to say that.
I mean, part of it is the rhetoric is purposefully being used to, like he just set up, as a strategy to try to unwind things that happened during the last administration, to say that, okay, so it wasn't actually the president. Well, guess what? Look, we didn't declare the 25th Amendment. Biden wasn't removed. And so it's the past is the past. And the thing is look, everybody wants Citizens United to be overturned. Many people wish Donald Trump was not the president. He is universally unpopular according to a majority of the American public, right? And he has unprecedented low approval numbers. But we have to wait until the next election because that's just the way it works. But so, look, if you don't like what Joe Biden did, it is not that you lie and propagandize in order to issue executive fiat and rule as a king. That's what Donald Trump is trying to do when he uses this insane rhetoric here.
The test was not so good either. In other words, there are things going on that the public wasn't informed, and I think somebody's going to have to speak to his doctor if it's the same, or even if it's too.
Jason makes an incredible point in the Substack chat. He says, so a urologist and a neurologist are one and the same. Right. We're talking about bladder or prostate. We're talking about prostate cancer. stage 872 prostate cancer, which I'm told is you find it when the person is 4. When the person is 4 years old. So it's very suspicious that Joe Biden ran for president in 2020 when he should have known. Any doctor should have known that that's going back, 70 years. Joe Biden was clearly showing the evidence of having stage 875 million prostate cancer.
Separate doctors. Why wasn't the cognitive ability, why wasn't that discussed? And I think the doctor said he's just fine, and it's turned out that's not so.
Okay, so we get it. This is we are pointing out to our MAGA friends and loved ones and neighbors that Donald Trump is an amoral person who is completely unfit. And you know what? I want to do this right now. I want to do this totally live right now with everyone. I want to write, show me the study that, show me the study that shows, I don't have to, it's ChatGPT isn't going to judge me. Show me the study that shows that when Americans watched CNN instead of Fox, their beliefs changed. Now, we have a critique of CNN that we are going to get into a little bit later as well. But the thing is yeah, he caught himself. But the thing is that, again, it's a manipulation machine. A study conducted in September 2020 by political scientists from Berkeley and Yale explored how changing media consumption affects political beliefs. In this study, regular Fox viewers were paid to watch CNN for 4 weeks. The researchers found that this shift led to measurable changes in participants' political perceptions and attitudes. Robin says in Substack, it's very sad I don't get to prosecute Joe Biden, so I think I'll diss on Dr. Jill. Right, exactly. Well, I think they even were saying that, Robin, in the disinformation spaces. And welcome, and thank you for being here, and thank you for chatting. We love the chat. It helps the show. Trump has such a knack for creating misery and taking it for his own advantage. Let's get Donald his health care at General Hospital in Baltimore on Medicaid limits for a month. Well, there we go. Speaking of doing things for a month. Fascinating, Robin. Well, so it's very sad I don't get to prosecute Dr. So that's the thing is Joe Biden, I think in this disinformation space, they started attacking Jill Biden. Isn't she like a doctor in the sense of like having a PhD? Right? I mean, I think that they used to rag on her for that. And now that she is like just his wife and she is not a urologist and doesn't have medical equipment at home and, whatever, any of the reasons why that's an insane thing for them to be saying, they just say it. It doesn't matter. They just say it to manipulate their audience. And so we are specifically just getting into that manipulation today and how, the most unfit person to ever be qualified, to ever be in office, right? Give me dying Biden over Donald Trump any day of the week, right? I think we would all agree with that at this point. Like when we talk about lack of fitness, well, Donald Trump is historically unfit to be the president of the United States. Yes, Jill Biden is an education expert. My audience is so smart. So I just wanted to show you all this study. The key findings of the study were that increased support for voting by mail happened. If you started to watch CNN, this must have been during when was it conducted? It was during election time. That's why it would have been something that people were even talking about. And obviously Donald Trump was talking about voting by mail, and then I'm sure CNN was covering that as well. Reduced misconceptions. They were less likely to believe that Joe Biden wanted to eliminate all police funding. And changed perceptions of political figures. Participants had less positive evaluations of Donald Trump and other Republican politicians because Fox News was purpose-built to manipulate public opinion in favor of the GOP. It was created, the idea for it, in the 1970s by Roger Ailes. Yes, and thank you. These changes suggest that exposure to different news sources can influence viewers' political beliefs. Well, yes, and duh. But most people don't believe that. So we're so grateful for this study. Most people don't understand media effects, even among those with strong partisan leanings. For a detailed discussion of the study and its implications, you can watch the following video where the researchers share their findings. Now, I think it's kind of gross for the researchers to be sharing their findings on CNN, but I appreciate the thing nonetheless. Okay. So I'm going to store that for later to talk to people about. But so we want to keep going through the news with your old pal Deuce. And so, you know, that is another example of just how unfit Donald Trump is. Yet, meanwhile, our neighbors, our friends, our loved ones love the guy. Now, Robin, I don't even know what you're saying. Robin says, love the study info. For a masterclass in manipulative language and the best answers to turn it away, see the conversation between Satan and Jesus in the wilderness. Well, Robin, I appreciate that. I like to, I guess that could be helpful for me in discourse with MAGA folks, but I don't really think MAGA folks who like are on the internet spreading disinformation really care too much about Christianity and care too much about, like, you know, what's true or not true about Christianity. At this point, I feel like many of our friends and neighbors and loved ones who are down the MAGA pipeline of disinformation and propaganda are just kind of like really and always trying to reaffirm their priors and really sustain the reality that they have been enveloped in. And in order to do that, you just kind of say yes to whatever is happening. Now, Robin, I don't know if you were here with us when we've discussed this in the past, but you know, this is a fascinating piece of information that the Christianity Today editor, who has been ostracized really by his church, has said that evangelicals call Jesus liberal and weak. He has pastors come and reach out to him and say that, like, at the end of the Sermon on the Mount being, described during a sermon by their pastor, that they'll go up to him and say, like, what was all that weak stuff? And, yeah, exactly, Robin. Do it. Do it, Robin. Do it, Robin. Do it, Robin. Do it, Robin. We're singing a song about Robin doing it. Do it, Robin. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay, now where are we? We were going to go to Scooby-Dooby-Doo. We were going to go to... Okay, this was me doing research on the... Look at these memes, right? This is what our friends and loved ones are being exposed to. Just all these memes. Have to go for now. Catch you on TT later. Okay, Madison, goodbye. And a reminder to everyone that if you are watching on Substack, we would love it if you walked. We want the name straight up. I mean, this is so dumb. If you are watching on Substack, we would love for you to come to twitch.tv/public enlightenment. So I will tell you where I was, and where I was right over. I don't know what I was about to say. So here we go. Let's check out some other stuff, everybody. Oh, we were looking at that study. That's right. And I'm saving it for later. Okay, writing pleadings. Okay, beautiful. Now look at this, okay? Look at this. Look at what they're going to do with January 6th, guys. Okay, Bartiromo, what actually happened on January 6th. Kash Patel, okay, he is sanctioned by Donald Trump to say things to our MAGA loved ones and neighbors and have them believe it. And especially like this alternative reality that has been created for them. Look at this, Dan Bongino, disinforming radio host, is now the deputy director of the FBI.
It finally came in.
Insane. So the question from propagandist Bartiromo is, what actually happened on January 6th? Well, we know what actually happened. So they're trying to recreate a different version, a different reality of what happened on January 6th. So Patel says, we now know unequivocally that President Trump lawfully authorized the deployment of the National Guard. Okay. Bartiromo said, were there FBI agents undercover egging people on? And just as everything that's ever happened with this QAnon world and conspiracy world, they just say, it's coming, it's on its way, it's coming. Infrastructure Week is coming. The evidence of JFK's assassination is coming. The evidence about everything that Biden did is coming. It's all on its way. Don't worry. One more day. And so you wonder when people will tire of it and when they will push back and when they will wake up to the reality of fact-based information.
What actually happened on January 6th?
So there is, as it seems that I find myself in a similar situation as Russiagate. Because on January 6th, in the prior Trump administration, I was the chief of staff to the Department of Defense. And I spent 4 years in a minor fortune litigating the truth because people politicized what actually happened on January 6th. And we now know unequivocally that President Trump lawfully authorized the deployment of National Guard, and me, as the head of the Office of Secretary of Defense, with the Secretary of Defense, took that action. When it finally came in, because it had to have the governor and mayor of D.C.'s approval on it. That's the way the law works. And once it finally came in on January 6th, remember, we offered to them days beforehand, and they rejected it. We've put out the letters, and your show has done great coverage showing how it was rejected. We mobilized the fastest cold start in Washington, D.C. since World War II, and the largest occupation of D.C. by the National Guard since the American Revolution. That's what happened on January 6th, but what you and your viewers want to know, now that we've beat back that disinformation campaign with actual truth, is what was the FBI doing? Well,
what happened on January 6th was a coup attempt by Kash Patel and his fellow MAGA members of the Trump administration. And so when they are distracting and just saying, oh, well, this is what happened on January 6th was the National Guard. Well, there's reasons why the people who believe in American democracy, who didn't lie about elections to foment a coup, would have tried to undermine Donald Trump sending troops into the Capitol, which would have furthered the coup that was going on, would have escalated the situation.
We got answers coming. We just found a trove of information, and it's on its way to Capitol Hill right now.
We just found a trove of information.
And you're getting answers on January 6th. You're getting answers on what sourcing was utilized, what money was utilized, how many assets were used.
Y'all, we need to be in the streets, okay? I don't understand. You know, I go out into the streets. I live stream for most of the times I go to a protest. We need to be in the streets every day is an outrage. Every day that we are not in the streets is a day that we are closer to full-on fascism without any ability to do anything about it except be, shot by our government.
Utilized, who made those decisions? You're getting it. We can only control the FBI, but you're getting it from the FBI.
Were there FBI agents undercover egging people on?
Robin says, speaking of Jill Biden, the person who visited the Guard to cheer them up. Maria Bartiromo says, Robin says, this trove of sudden discovery out of his amygdala. Well, yeah, I mean, but it's not just that, right? It's not that he's afraid, right? These people aren't dumb, right? Like, Kash Patel is cashing in on spreading disinformation and conspiracy theories, right? He is someone of extremely low moral character. I would not say that he believes, I don't know. Sometimes people believe that they are the hero when they are the villain, but, I can't believe that he thinks that what they're doing is good or that Donald Trump is a good guy unless he thinks it's a good guy to be corrupt and to, assault people and to lie constantly. I don't know. I mean, I guess you have a point though there, Robin, and I think it's like hard to say. I'm sure you could pepper me with examples of people throughout history who have done things because they thought they were doing the right thing. But I mean, this guy's just an abject liar. You see him when he's up in front of the congressional hearings. You see his attitude. To me, he looks like a petulant. Is he from New Jersey? Like, I know dudes like this. He just seems like a kid who just always argued with his parents and, basically needs therapy.
like I said, that answer is coming, and it's on its way to Congress.
You're about to. I saw it. I saw the portfolio of information. We dug far and wide to find it, and I'm pretty sure now we have a conclusive, definitive answer. But you and the public are going to have it. You're going to see it in writing over to Capitol Hill. But I just want to be sure we're clear, having been an agent and a police officer. There is a difference between an agent, I know you know this, I don't mean to sound ridiculous, an agent, meaning a trained GS 1811 federal agent, and a source or an asset. There's a difference. So when you see the material, which I promise you is coming, again, I'm not asking you to trust us. I know it's coming because I saw it yesterday. When you see it, I just want you to understand that it's not an apology for anything.
Thank you.
But
That's
there's
important.
a difference between agents and assets.
Yeah.
And I just hope when people put that information out there, they make the distinction. Not that it's better or worse, but there's a distinction there.
It's a very important distinction.
And I want to level set.
Why? What is the very important distinction? I guess what they're saying is that it will be revealed that there were people in the crowd who were being interacted with by FBI agents in the same way that our FBI does this across political ideology, right? There is reportage on the reality that FBI agents infiltrated, BLM aspects of the BLM movement, and tried to get BLM protesters and organizers to purchase handguns and then bring them to protests and things like that. And so I'm sure that is something that was going on with our government infiltrating these kinds of spaces. They try to do like entrapment type things. None of that takes away from the reality of the Proud Boys. The Proud Boys weren't created by the FBI. The Oath Keepers weren't created by the FBI. Stuart Rhodes wasn't created by the FBI. Enrique Tarrio was not created by the FBI. Their decision to lie about elections in order to foment a coup was not created by the FBI. But so what will happen is our mainstream media will run with this we just finished writing it. Robin's talking about Dan Bongino. It's like, I saw it yesterday because we just finished writing it. But so, they will release some stuff that is probably, the kind of thing that is outrageous to all of us when it happens, when our FBI engages in entrapment. Now, the thing is it's like, how much do you describe or believe that a certain force in society is domestic terrorism? I would say that most of my viewers do not believe that, people fighting for the rights of civil rights of people of color in this country is not and of course, going back for decades in this country, any movement to liberate people of color, black people, has been labeled as such by our FBI as a communism or whatever it may be, extremism, terrorism, all that stuff. And sometimes they were using those tactics. I do not deny that. But we have a coup attempt, the only coup attempt that's ever taken place in our country. These guys are going to release some, relatively benign stuff similar to Hillary Clinton's, private email server, which in terms of benignness was used by Colin Powell, used by Condoleezza Rice, all those kinds of things, right? But the media, our mainstream media, only seems to really make major hay out of these things when they are egged on. There is no ecosystem on the left or the center, right? Like there's no ecosystem in the Democratic National Committee that then generates tons of outrage in order to get the mainstream media to work the refs, to get the mainstream media, who are the refs in this scenario, to then carry all of that into the public. But what will happen is they will release this, and then the mainstream media will go nuts talking about this, and that's what we have to look forward to with these apparatchiks.
That here. I want the American public to go back and look at what our predecessors stated to Congress under oath, that there were no FBI sources utilized in and around January 6th. I'm going to leave it at that.
Okay, so it sounds like they have a pretty weak thing that they're going to produce, and then we all have to deal with it. Now, what I wanted to do was this. I wanted to show you this from The Daily Show. This is going to move into a critique of CNN, and we are going to talk about it through the lens of how it affects our friends and neighbors and loved ones' understanding of fact-based journalism. Now, look, what I'm going to show you is, look, cable news is terrible for you. You know what I mean? Cable news is not a good diet of information, but there is fact-based information happening in that space. And we just brought up the study that literally if you consume like even if we have these critiques of CNN, we still need to fight like hell to get our friends and neighbors and MAGA loved ones to watch CNN. If that's how they take their news, we got to get them to watch CNN instead of Fox, right? Like if you just have to go one step better each time. And then you might say, well, if you like CNN, now check out ProPublica. You know, they'll really tell you the real deal. But we understand that when our fellow Americans are turned against us in an information war and it is storming the beaches of Normandy time, we have to do everything we can to get them back on the fact-based stream of information. Now, I will show you this now.
I don't know about you folks, but me,
Sorry it's so low, the volume.
I'm on the pins and needles. I'm very anxious right now. I'm very nervous, very anticipatory. And it's not about whether Russia and Ukraine will be settled. It's not whether somebody can stop Netanyahu. Somebody, please. It's not whether Taylor's unfriended Blake. I don't know. No, like most people in America, I am most looking forward to reading a book. But when?
We're back with breaking news in our politics lead and a brand new excerpt from my upcoming book with Axios' Alex Thompson. It's called Original Sin. I'm not sure if you've heard of it. It's on Biden's decline. It's called Original Sin. I'm sure you've heard on May 20th. That's Tuesday. Original Sin. That's coming out in 3 weeks. On May 20th. That's just 19 days away. In 1 week and 1 day. Coming out in just a few days. Comes out Tuesday. You will not believe what we found out.
Don't news people have to tell you what they know when they find it out? Isn't that the...
So this is Jon Stewart pointing out a critique that, you know, me and my cohort have had for a very long time, right? Anytime Maggie Haberman or, you know, Michael Wolff, I think that's his name, right? They would hold on to these things for like a year, or sometimes across election cycles, and you know, to not tell the public information that might impact their understanding of the world and their appreciation for candidates and change which way they might vote is just not journalism. You should actually probably be banned from journalism if that's your deal. So Maggie Haberman out, Jake Tapper out, and guess what? We wouldn't really lose very much. I mean, Jake Tapper is a television entertainer, and Maggie Haberman is basically a de facto member of the Trump administration in the way that she has kept things from the public for access, in the way that she has framed things in her role as a reporter for the New York Times on the White House in covering, you know, Donald Trump.
And the difference between news and a secret? You won't believe what we found out. No, that's why I'm watching. Breaking news! Now, I don't know how the rest of the country is feeling about this book coming out, but I know New York is hyped.
New Yorkers are so funny. I mean, it's great when the Knicks are in basketball because, like, there's a vibe in the city right now. But it's like we're in the semifinals. We're not even in the finals. We didn't even win the thing. So funny.
New York City, baby! The city! The city that never stops reading. That's our motto. Our motto is... I'm kidding, of course. That is footage from the reopening of the Frick Museum.
Great museum, by the way. Fantastic
By the way, it is
museum.
New York, so you know the real name of the museum is the Collection. You just put it up there like, hey, the friggin' collection? What are we doing here? So what is this bombshell book about?
A new book is outlining new claims about former President Biden's physical and mental health. The book, Original Sin, claims Biden's health had become so severe that there were internal discussions about putting the president in a wheelchair.
He allegedly was napping during debate preparations.
Another bombshell. Former President Biden apparently forgot the name of his longtime aide, Jake Sullivan, and called him Steve.
My God!
Bombshell.
To be fair, when you forget a white guy's name, to be fair, and I say this with respect to the bombshell, Steve is not a bad guess. I think even Jake Sullivan at some point was like, is my name Steve? Because when I look in the mirror, I could be a Steve. Or Scott, maybe a Greg. The point is, the American news media were hungry for more.
A new Biden bombshell. Dropping bombshell allegations, a steady drip of new revelations.
Damning claims.
Damaging new details.
All right, this video is like super long.
Needle. How do you pivot from excitedly promoting your anchor's book to somberly and respectfully promoting your anchor's book?
Biden's health was very much in the news.
Yeah, so there was a bunch more of how they were covering Jake Tapper's friggin' book. And then, yeah, like, so then it was announced that Biden had staged, according to Donald Trump, staged 97,249 billion cancer. And then they still manage, like, it's just a disease, it feels like what power Jake Tapper has over, like, at least the producers. They must love their relationship with Jake Tapper, because, like, why, like, just don't mention the book. I mean, but it is the way that mainstream media, especially cable news, is going to operate in some ways. This is pretty egregious, this behavior.
Even before the cancer diagnosis was announced on Sunday. That's because of a new book by CNN's Jake Tapper.
This was already going to be a tough week, and this makes it much harder. And that
a tough week for what? A tough week for the non-Biden administration that doesn't exist in an office and a group of people who do not exist as a functioning cohort of coworkers. Who would it have been a tough week for? A tough week for Jill and Joe Biden at home where he's dying of cancer? Who would it have been a tough week for? Democratic voters who aren't the same as MAGA voters and who would have been like, oh, that's terrible, an old man has cancer, and would have moved on with their lives? Who would it have been a tough week for? People who would have said, oh, that's terrible, Joe Biden, I guess, had poor health during the middle of 2024. Okay, I want to deal with the fascism that's in America right now. Who would it have been a tough week for? These frames that we are given by the people in our mainstream media who are, I mean, I need to maybe make a distinction. Maybe y'all could help me with the distinction of, like, between like mainstream media that is ghoulish and mainstream media that is the hundreds, if not thousands, of people who are reporters, who need jobs, who are interested in reporting in the public interest and do so regularly. That is a real thing that happens all over the country, and we lose sight of that. I hope my audience doesn't lose sight of that when I attack mainstream media. I'm always trying to make it the distinction between our disinformation manipulation stream that comes from the right that has been purposefully created to manipulate people, and then a mainstream commercialized system for informing the public that is regrettable because most healthy democracies have robustly funded public media. I mean, we don't even robustly fund our own public media. We spend $1.60 per capita, whereas the healthiest democracies spend $100 per capita, almost, like 60% more, 40% more. No, I'm getting that so wrong. Anyway, someone help me out. 50% more? I don't know. Okay. Anyway.
Is a reference to the fact that our colleague Jake Tapper and Alex Thompson have a book that's set to publish on Tuesday.
This very tough news, this very challenging news, and at the same time, the backdrop of our colleague Jake Tapper's book with Alex Thompson coming out this week.
It's so hard. It's such a difficult time, so unfathomable in terms of the pain his family must be feeling. And yet, if you act now...
This is great. This joke coming up.
You use the code / tap that book. You will...
That's a good joke, man. That's a good one.
Obviously, this 20% off offer is not available for some reason in Tennessee. But the point is, forgetting about the fact how weird it is that the news is selling you a book about news they should have told you was news a year ago for free.
So I just want to say that for free part, look, we need to pay for journalism in this country because we have unfortunately decided as a public, egged on by the extremists of the right-wing manipulation ecosystem, that for some reason publicly funded media would mean government media that was controlling what was reported and that we would suffer as a result, right? That is not the case. That is not the case in the countries, the healthiest democracies that have robustly funded public media. It is possible to put in firewalls, absolutely. Now, if a person like Donald Trump had come in and we had robustly funded public media, we know already that it would be under attack because it already is under attack, even though places like NPR basically receive about 1% of their funding from the government. Yes, that is true. But so here's the deal, is that we should not be getting our news for free. And if we are getting it for free, it should be because the taxpayer is funding a robust public interest media system. That is a conversation for another day. We are so far away from that in this country. My whole deal originally has been to advocate for that kind of a thing. But once the 2024 election happened, I realized that we need to just basically do this. We need to try to entertain people into giving a friggin' shit about their media diets, because guess what? We are in an information war at all times. I mean, the reason we have, fascism in America is because we have stopped caring about our news and media diets, and we've stopped caring about the news and media diets of everyone. And so we have to travel the country, and we have to get people to, basically get new sources of information and news. And we are at that dire stage. It's not just like we can't advocate for public media right now. We have to advocate for people reading news, period, and not trusting demagogues and fascists to tell them that do not believe the evidence of your eyes and ears. It is the GOP party's final and most essential command, because that is where we are in this time. We have to care deeply. We have to worship facts. Do you understand? Because if we are not worshiping facts, we are suffering at the hands of the propagandists, because propaganda only works. Fascism only works where there is propaganda. That is why they have come out and said explicitly, we are flooding the zone with shit, because the Democratic Party is not the enemy, it is the media, because fascism only works when propaganda is robust and strong and everywhere and being effective. And so are we sucking down information light in this world? Are we sucking down the pacifying sleep-inducing information light? Or are we getting a media diet that is so keto, that is so public interest media, that is, so pro-public, so independent, yet fact-based and pro-democracy, that our buns are information tight? Do you know what I'm talking about? Yes, you do. Now, you are a fact warrior, and I love all of you, the things that you are doing in this world every day, being online, fighting for facts. The thing is that you need to be fighting for fact-based information every single second of every single day, because your neighbors, your friends, your loved ones are swimming in a toxic sea of disinformation, are swimming in absolute shit. And so we need to fight every single day for the minds of our fellow Americans, because if we do not, we are totally screwed. We are totally screwed if we stop fighting for our friends and loved ones and neighbors' minds. I know it's a difficult conversation to have. It's a difficult conversation to have, and it is not one that you need or want to have, you think, in your life, because you just want to go to work and come home, and you just want to be, relaxing on the couch and have your own life. You don't have to suffer. Well, guess what? We are all going to suffer so much more.
We are here to worship facts and reject the lies that are meant to divide us, and that division keeps us from joy. And so since we are the secular mega church of joy, we are all about pushing back against the hate and lies and manipulation and division that is being created for us by the global authoritarians and oligarchs who want to divide us. How does fascism come to America? It comes to America when we no longer care about information. Fascism is the result of propaganda.
We are waging a 21st century information warfare campaign against the left. It's like grassroots guerrilla warfare. Someone says something on social media, Musk retweets it. Rogan podcasts it.
These people will be moved to swing states, and that will be used to essentially rig those states and turn them blue forever.
Fox broadcasts it.
They want illegals to steal elections.
And by the time it reaches everybody, millions of people have seen it.
Propaganda is effective in converting people from regular citizens in a pluralistic democracy into fascism worshipers, and so we must be fact worshipers at this time.
The world is being destroyed by dickheads who are able to control the headlines and control the means of communication and tune the algorithms to have us at each other's throats at all times.
How come we're heading towards a recession now? There's no talk of a recession now. You can't.
Gas prices are the lowest they've been in 4 years.
Yeah, well, shit, that's a lie. First of all, that's a lie. That's a fucking lie.
So what are you going to do today? How are you going to fix the world today? How are you going to be a fact warrior?
Look, it's the message so nice that I said it twice. I said it live just now to all of you, and then I played you this video. Look, Debbie Fuss, if you care about America, if you care about democracy, if you have an issue that you care about, the first thing you have to care about is our information ecosystem. Because if we don't fix our information ecosystem, if we don't do things to make our fellow Americans understand that our information ecosystem is responsible for the fascism that we see in our country. Yes, the fascists exist, but they would not be in power if it wasn't for a flawed mainstream media that is commercialized and corporate in this country, unlike the world's healthiest democracies, where the mainstream media is publicly funded robustly, right? If we didn't have a purpose-built information ecosystem on the right that was made to manipulate and spread disinformation, yet people, too many of us, millions of us, believe that that is the real source of information, right? So we have all of these critiques of our information ecosystem, and we need to be spreading these critiques everywhere at all times at once. Yes, and so if you believe in that, if you understand that, you will help me
produce this program every single day. You will help me produce the things that I have at publicenlightenment.com. You will help me produce all of this stuff so that we can grow this movement and we can make people understand what is happening with their information ecosystem. I desperately need all of your help because I know you are watching because you care. So please go tell everyone about the YouTube videos that we have. Go tell them about the, this is not a YouTube video that we have. This is, now look at this. I just want to show you this. Look at this. Look at how, whatever. It's more propaganda and you need to understand it, but it's okay. We don't need to do it. I'm going to go over to TikTok now. But I need you to fight for me, and I need you to fight for me, fighting for the minds of every single American out there. And so will you help me, please, as we take on the information ecosystem that is destroying our world? That is the real culprit here, and the real conspiracy is that we are not learning about the Council for National Policy, okay? We are not learning about the Christian billionaire, the grievance-riddled Christian billionaires, Christian nationalist billionaires who have been building this system to manipulate our society since the 1970s. You're not going to hear about that on CNN. You're not going to hear about that in all of the places where you get your information if you are most Americans. And so let's fight. Let's fight for high-quality information. Yes, and Sean, I love you. Let's fight for all of these things at all times. I've created lists here on Blue Sky. You can tell the people that you know that they should go and replace their information stream, whether it be CNN or the New York Times, with what we have here on this list. We have over 30 news outlets that are pro-democracy and that provide context about the same national news that we seem to all be obsessed with, especially as it's harder for us to get local news because local news is dying in this country, and the propagandists and fascists are taking advantage of that reality. So go to our lists on our Blue Sky profile, publicenlightenment.com on Blue Sky. If you're not on Blue Sky, join the other 33 million people who are there and who are using it in the way that Twitter used to be, a functioning public square that spread fact-based information and connected experts across all sorts of disciplines. And so look, we've got the news, we've got media critics, political science, disinfo experts, legal experts. We have to care about our brains and the diets that we consume and the things that we put into our brains. Because we do not, that is why we have fascism in America. Shout it from the rooftops, tattoo it on your forehead, because guess what? That's what's happening. So please do all the things you can to support this program. If you go to our Blue Sky, you can get links to the TikTok, to the Instagram, to the YouTube, to the Twitch. Go follow me every one of those places. It helps me. It supports me. If you think that this show, whether you watch it or not, should be something that Americans are exposed to, that's how you can help me, and that's how you can take one little minor step. Okay, sometimes we call our constituents. Sometimes we might write a letter to the editor. We might do things on this program, but all of it is to be civically engaged and care about our information ecosystem. So yes, and please do that. I'm going to go over to TikTok right now. You can go over there with me and have more fun. We're going to have fun. We might even sing a song or two, and we are going to win. We are going to win the information war for the American mind. And if not, then get out of here. And if you're online and you're not fighting for the minds of your fellow Americans, if you're not posting and reposting, don't just like. If you see a piece of information that is pro-democracy and fact-based, repost it. Be the media. We have to replace the information that is being shoved down the minds and throats of our fellow Americans with healthy, fact-based information. I'm sorry. It's a foie gras situation, okay? We have to open up the gullets of our fellow Americans and pump them full of healthy information so that their livers become healthy livers, unlike what happens with foie gras. So it was a flawed analogy. But we have to do that, okay? So are you going to do that with me? I don't hear anybody besides Sean. Can I get a yes and somewhere in all the chats? Please fight for your right to exist in a pluralistic democracy, because guess what? You think it's bad right now? You think it's stalled right now? I don't know what, but it is not stalled. It is progressing. It is on its way. We need to fight. I'm sorry, it's not a hopeful message right now. We need to fight. You need to take to the streets, and you can learn how to take to the streets and what is happening at publicenlightenment.com, okay? 4 websites to find peaceful protests near you so you can make content and fight for your rights. Look, it's right there. Okay, so we're going to go over to TikTok right now, Miles, and we want you to go over to TikTok with us, tiktok.com/Public Enlightenment, and we'll see you over there, okay?
Be a friggin' fact warrior. And this program is sponsored by Grass Milk. Sore. And my friend told me that grass milk is actually, they market milk as grass milk. He showed me a picture. So that's exciting. So it's a little less crazy. Anyway, I love you. You love me. We are an intergalactic family. I love your support and I love you. So let's keep being beings of light and love in this world. And guess what? This sounds like a crazy program, but guess what? Human connection, surest path towards joy. Right now, we exist in a society that is being ripped apart from human connection by lies and propaganda. So it all makes sense. Okay, bye.